The nominations for the 2019 class of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame have been announced, and this year's list is as controversial as ever. I'll share my thoughts on the nominees, but I really want to hear your thoughts too. So let's talk Rock Hall right now on Track by Track. Hey everybody, my name's Kyle, and this is Track by Track, music reviews, news, and commentary. Thanks for tuning in today, and if this is your first time here, please take a second to click subscribe so that you won't miss future reviews and more. Every year when the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame announces its annual list of artists nominated for induction, you're guaranteed to see a mix of classic acts that seem long overdue for induction, alongside quote-unquote newer artists that many music fans may not think have earned the honor yet. And in recent years, we've seen acts from the formative years of rap and hip-hop become eligible, which has led to the objectionable cries of "that's not rock and roll." This year's roster is no exception. I doubt many fans would argue with the nominations for Devo, Todd Rundgren, the MC5, and the Zombies. Meanwhile, Kraftwerk and LL Cool J represent two very different interpretations of how rock and roll may be defined. And nominations for acts like Radiohead and Rage Against the Machine may seem premature when you consider the legacy acts that came long before them that have yet to be recognized by the Rock Hall. And what do I think about it all? Well, to a large extent, I don't really care. I tend to think that while an act being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is pretty cool, it's also pretty meaningless. As with any award of this kind, it's inevitable that there will be a large amount of politics at play, and with such a broad spectrum of genres falling under the rock umbrella, musical diversity is bound to be a factor in the selection process as well. And new acts versus old acts? Look, what can an act like the Zombies, the oldest act nominated this year, what can they do differently from the other 3 times they've been nominated to justify making the final cut in 2019? Could they possibly generate the level of fan enthusiasm we'll likely see for Def Leppard? Not a chance. So while I do know plenty of music fans that deride the Rock Hall inductions every year as being a total sham, and I don't entirely disagree with them, the thing is, I don't care. It's kind of one of those it is what it is kind of things. I'm not going to get worked up about it. I'm not going to complain about who did or didn't get a nomination and whether they deserved it or not. And I'm not going to take issue with rap and hip-hop acts joining the hall because, after all, jazz and country acts have been inducted in the past as well. And I'm sure there was controversy then too. For me, and I think for most music fans, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is just about the joy of music. It's cool to see bands that we like get honored for their impact on music and culture. I look forward to watching the ceremony and concert every year, regardless of who's being inducted. It's a fun show, and I'm not going to spoil my experience as a fan by getting upset about how the voting played out. I just don't take it that seriously. In the words of 1989 Hall of Fame inductees, the Rolling Stones, I know, it's only rock and roll, but I like it. Alright, so with all of that being said, I do still have some thoughts about this year's group of nominees. For starters, I can't see anyone really complaining about the MC5, Rufus and Chaka Khan, and the Zombies. They've all been nominated before, but I'm not sure that this will be their year either. Meanwhile, Kraftwerk is getting their 5th nomination, and somehow with the increasing influence EDM is having on the music world, I've got a hunch this band may finally get the recognition they deserve. But what about fellow 5-time nominee LL Cool J? Well, he may find himself competing for votes among fellow R&B acts Janet Jackson and Rufus with Chaka Khan, and in that battle, I think Janet Jackson has the edge. After a year of the entertainment industry grappling with the Me Too movement, strong female acts may have an edge on this year's ballot, and perhaps none more so than Stevie Nicks. If Nicks gets inducted, she'll be the first female artist to be inducted as both a solo artist and as a member of a band. That's a pretty big deal, especially considering the number of male acts that have had that honor are already in the double digits. It's over 20. If you're placing bets, Stevie Nicks is pretty close to a sure thing. The other sure thing this year is Def Leppard. Similar to Bon Jovi last year and Journey the year before, Def Leppard is almost certainly going to dominate the fan vote for 2019. I don't think any other act could even come close. The only real challenger I see is The Cure. That band celebrated their 40th anniversary this year and is now seeing their 2nd nomination to the Rock Hall. I don't think they can beat out Def Leppard for the fan vote, but I do think their chances of being inducted are fairly strong. Then there's first-time nominees John Prine, Roxy Music, Todd Rundgren, and Devo. With Prine and Roxy Music, they should start practicing saying it's an honor just to be nominated, because I just don't see it going farther than that. Not in 2019 anyway. Devo is the act that most people would be shocked to hear had not been nominated before, and I think they're a strong contender. However, I'm also hearing a lot of support out there for Todd Rundgren, whose contributions to music transcend his own album releases. He's an accomplished producer and technological vanguard, which may sway the vote in his favor. Finally, there's the two youngest acts on the ballot. Both Radiohead and Rage Against the Machine scored their second Rock Hall nominations after both being nominated in their first year of eligibility last year. Between these two bands, I just don't see Rage generating a level of enthusiasm among voters to earn them a place in the class of 2019. Radiohead, on the other hand, seemed like almost a no-brainer. The problem is that the band has made it very clear that they don't care about the nomination and probably wouldn't show up if they were inducted. After Dire Straits all but blew off the Rock Hall last year, I doubt that voters will be anxious to repeat such an unceremonious presentation. Does Radiohead deserve to be nominated? I think so, but it's hard to ignore their indifference about the whole thing. Okay, so if I'm going to make a prediction here, which is as much a guess as anything, I'd say the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame class of 2019 will probably end up being Def Leppard, Stevie Nicks, Janet Jackson, Todd Rundgren, and the Zombies. The sixth and final spot on the list could be a toss-up, and for that position, I think it's between Kraftwerk and, in spite of everything I said against their nomination, Radiohead. Kraftwerk is more influential, but Radiohead could nicely fill the desire for letting in a younger act. If you want to make your voice heard, the online fan vote will be open until December 9th at rockhall.com/fanvote. The final list of inductees will be announced later in December, and the 2019 induction ceremony will be held on March 29th at the Barclays Center in New York. As usual, the show will be broadcast on HBO, so keep an eye out for details on that later in the spring. Meanwhile, what are your thoughts on this year's list of nominees? I'm sure that you've got some. Is there anyone that you think has a lock on being inducted? Or are there acts that you don't think quite deserve the honor? Who is an act that you think got snubbed this year and that you think should be on the ballot? How do you feel about rap and hip-hop going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? And are you one of those who thinks that the whole thing is just a sham anyway? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. Once again, my name is Kyle, and this has been Track by Track. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Plus, check out some of these other videos below that I think you might also enjoy. And of course, be sure to subscribe, because true music fans always want new releases the day they come out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.